All right, so I am taping. Today is day 40, so we are officially halfway through with the class after today. All right, so today I'm going to go over some of the chapters 2 and 3 labs and homework examples with you together. The rest of the period will be lab. Tomorrow will be lab for the entire period. On the email this morning, I also included on there a JavaScript pretest. Now, I can talk about the pretest, not right now, though. I will tell you, as it says right here, this pretest is much more difficult than the hands-on test. So the reason I'm telling you that is if you can complete this pretest without any problems, you should be able to blaze your way through the regular test that you will take on Tuesday of next week. All right. So your bootstrap test was due yesterday. I have not looked at any of them. All right. The updated, if you wanted to do updates for the HTML and CSS stuff, is due this Sunday. The chapters 1 through 3 written test labs and homework is due next Sunday. All right. We'll just leave it at that. So I'm just going to take it from the top. And what I'm going to do is, I guess they provide starter files for some of this stuff. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to literally start from brand new. All right. So in this first exercise, it's very similar to the one that we did yesterday. So let's change it around a little bit. And what I mean is, all right, we will do the exercise. Okay, but let's use an array. Okay, because that'll get people used to using arrays. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and let's just make a folder, and I'll just call it JS chapters 1 to -3. All right. Nothing special about that name. And this particular example, then, this is going to be short 2-1. All right. Modify test scores. So I'll just make a folder and call it just that. So short 2-1. All right. And I might as well do this because it'll make it faster for me. So let me just come in here. All right. All right. So I've got this set up and now it's just short 2-1. I'll make about five or six copies. All right. So now I've got that. So it's short 2-1. I'm going to open it with code right now. All right. So again, in my CSS, even though I can't spell, so let's rename that styles instead of the way it looks now. All right. And we have an index.html and a scripts.js. Okay. Let's go into our HTML and finish this up fairly quickly here. So I'm going to put in my exclamation point, and we are going to call this short 2-1 modify test scores app. All right. And we will add in here our link tag for CSS/styles. And I will also put in my script tag. We'll put in the defer option. All right. So that should be everything we need in here. We'll find out in just a minute. So file, save all. All right. And I'm not going to worry about how pretty this thing comes out. All right, so I'm not even going to play with the style sheet. I think you've got a starter file and you can add that if you want to, but that's fine. I'm just going to go right into scripts.js. And what I'm going to do to try to make my life a little bit easier here is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab the comment that was in here. And it'll let me copy the comment, not the picture, but that's okay. All right. So in this exercise, you'll modify the test scores application so that it provides for 4 tests and displays the results in a dialog box like the one that follows. Okay, fine. All right, so let's just take it from the top. Now, right now, we're taking and we're writing everything all together. In other words, the entire program is just line after line after line, etc. What we're going to be getting to next week is we're going to break this up into different routines known as functions. I'm not going to do that right now, but just so you know, that is coming. So let's, like we did before, we'll have our const and we'll have min test score, and that'll be equal to 0. And we'll have another const with max test score, and that'll be equal to 100. And then we'll have another const that we're going to call num students. And for now, we're just going to set it equal to 4. Now, we don't have to do any of these. You already know that. So put an S on there. All right. But what I'm going to do then is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here or in here, and I'm going to say, let students equal, all right, and I'm going to do, there's different ways we can do this, but I'm going to do a new array, and I'm going to put in here num students. And that should create a new array for me, all right, with 4 elements, element 0, element 1, element 2, and element 3. All right. So that's just called students. In fact, a better name for that would have probably been scores. So let's call it scores. All right. So come in here and I'll put in some comments. So I'll come in here and say declare program constants. All right. And here will be declare program variables. All right. And remember, that's the declaration here and here and here and here. To say equal something, that's declare and initialize. So we're actually doing both. All right. And really what a constant is it's a special type of variable. All right. That is not designed to change while the program's running. Okay. So let's come in here. Let's come in and just input the 4 test scores. All right. So we'll come in and say for let LCV equals 0, LCV less than the name of our array. All right. Did we make an array? Let scores equal, yeah, it scores. Less than scores dot length plus plus LCV. Now, not so much for you, Grant, but for everybody else, it's important that you realize what's going on here. All right. LCV is our loop control variable. We are going to use it so that 4 different times we are going to be able to come in and ask the user to enter a test score. All right. So the first test score will be test score 1, the second test score 2, the third test score 3, and the fourth test score 4. Should make sense. But we're also going to validate them to make sure that A, they are numeric, and B, they are within range. All right, so we're going to come in here and say scores LCV equal, and then we're going to put in here a parse int. Let me get rid of this so we have a little more room to work with. Parse int, and I'm going to say prompt, please enter score number. All right, and we want to enter a score, so score number plus LCV plus 1. I don't want to say score 0 because that could be confusing. All right, but when I do that, I'll need to put this, probably need to put this into parentheses. And I won't even have, I will not have any kind of a default value in there. Nothing. All right, and I think I need one more paren here. We could give it a default value. All right. Now, what we can do right now is we can come in here and I can do a file, save all, and I should be able to run this. All right, so please enter test score 1. It's not doing anything with it. 2, 3, and 4. So far it works. That's good. That's a good start. Now, what we want to do, though, is we want to make sure that that test score is valid. So this is inputting the 4 test scores right here. All right. Now, next, we want to come in and validate that the test score, so A is numeric and B is within range. You already know what the range is because we set up min test score and max test score. So if scores, should we do that again? If is NaN scores LCV, so if it's not numeric, or scores LCV is less than the min test score, or, and again, we'll put these on 3 different lines so you can see all of the tests that are being made. All right. Or scores LCV is greater than max test score. So if any one of those is true, all right, I don't need these anymore. What do I know? Well, I know that it's invalid. So I want to do it again. This is very similar to what we did yesterday. All right. So there's one more change I've got to make, and maybe you've already discovered it. I don't know. And that is, it shouldn't be if, it should be while. Remember, if, as I mentioned yesterday, is just a one-time shot. So if we put in another invalid value, it would take it. All right. So right there, we've got that. Now let's see if that works so far. So nothing in here. Uh-oh. Didn't like that. It still is asking for 2, 3, 4. All right. Well, something's goofed up. It's probably me, but that's fine. So the score is equal this while is not a number, or it's less than that, or it's greater than that. It's like it didn't take this. All right. So let's try it again. That's the problem. I have no notes or nothing in front of me. So 567. No, it shouldn't be taking that. All right, but it is. All right. So scores equals, please enter a score. Got it. Okay. While it's not numeric, or it's less than this, or it's less than this. So it should be coming in there and asking us that again, and it's not. All right. Let's start by doing this. All right. It could be the way that I've got the arrays, etc., set up. So we'll come back to this. What do I mean? Let's forget that we've got an array in here. All right. I promise you we will come back to it. All right. But we'll call this score 1. We'll just set it equal to 0. Now, the problem with doing this is we're going to have a lot of repetitive code. All right. And I'm trying to figure out, just looking at this, why it would have a problem with what I'm doing. All right. Well, it's not a number, or it's less than 0, or it's greater than, let me come in here and word wrap. All right. Or it's greater than the maximum. Let's see if it's even getting into this. And I don't think it is. I'll put an alert in here that just says hello. All right. And nothing else. And let's get rid of this. This is just a poor way of writing it. So let scores we'll do it like that. Let scores 4. All right. I don't know if it'll take it like that. How about just let scores equal bracket like that? All right. So 0 to there. I want to see if it's getting in here. That's why I'm putting that alert in there. Well, that's fantastic, isn't it? It's not even running it. So let's see why that is. All right. Let scores equal an array. Okay. 4. Let LCV equal 0. Ah, there's the problem. It has no length. Okay. We're just going to say 4 here. I think we can put a number 4 in there. I think it'll take that. All right. So let's try that and see if we can put in scores dot length. Okay. All right. So enter score 1. I'm going to put something out of range in there. Okay. Well, it sure didn't like that. I don't know what it did. Probably should have looked at the key first to see how the author did it, but I didn't, and I don't want to. So what this? Yeah. Yeah, we can say constant there, but that's not going to matter one way or the other if we do that. I want a numeric array, and of course, objects, length. Here we go. Well, there you go. Common error is not the same as this. Create an array. This creates an array with one element. All right. We'll make it a const. That's good because it'll allow me to talk a little bit more about const. So that'll be new array of 4. All right. Now let's see if it takes that. All right, so underscore 1, I'm going to put in 345. Now it's right asking right for score 2. All right. So it is not getting in here. Now, before we talk about that, and we're going to, but before we do, let's talk about this. I talked about the fact that a constant is something whose value cannot change. All right. And technically, all right, this I think should be a let. But what you can do with a constant array, you cannot change the size of the array, but you can repeat, you can change the values that are inside of the array. So that makes working with an array different than working with a scalar value. I am going to make this a let. I don't think that's going to change anything. All right. So I'm going to come in here and do this. Now, I am going to come in and try to change this to an if to see if that handles it. All right, it'll only handle it one time, but I want to see if I get in here if I do this. So file, save all. We'll run this again. All right, so score 123, and it doesn't. So that's not working. Now, what does that mean? Well, that means I better get my act together. Let's just do this. We won't do any validation. Let's see if we can just get this to work. All right, then we'll come back and worry about the validation. So I'm going to get rid of all this. So here's our scores. Please enter a score. All right. So what do I have to do in here? Well, I need the total point value of all scores. All right. So let's say let total points, we'll set that equal to 0. All right. And then we're going to come in here and we're going to say total points plus equals scores LCV. All right. Then when we come out here, well, we're supposed to get the average. Okay. So we can set an average up here too, which will set equal to 0. All right. And then we'll come down here and we'll say average equals total points divided by scores dot length. All right. And then let's just, for now, let's just see if it's working. So I'm going to do an alert and I'm going to say average equals, I should have a template literal, but I don't because it doesn't like it with alerts. So I'm going to say here average dot to fixed to 2 decimal places. Let's just see if that works. All right. All right. So 10, 20, 30, and 40. And it says the average is 25, which is right because 10 plus 20 is 30, plus 30 is 60, plus 40 is 100, divided by 4. So that appears to be working. All right. So, I mean, as far as what we need in here, that is sufficient. All right. Let's go back and look at it, and then let's see if we can figure out why it isn't working the other way. All right. So you come in here and you are asking what? So you are coming in here and you are asking for 4 different values. We know that because we set this up to be an array of size 4 once I did it correctly. So the first time through here, LCV is 0. So scores 0, which is the first score, is going to be equal to whatever we put in here. So we put in a 10. So total points, which was 0, is now equal to total points plus 10. We come back around again. We add 1 to LCV, so it is now 1. So scores 1, which is the second score. So we're going to do that, and we end up doing this 4 times. So again, with the 10, the 20, the 30, and the 40, the first time through, total points is 10. Then we add 20 to it to make it 30. Then we add 30 to it to make it 60. Then we add 40 to it to make it 100. Then we come back out and we just say that the average equals total points, which was 100, divided by scores dot length, which is 4. All right, so 100 divided by 4. Then we're just printing this out. Now, if we wanted it to print on a web page, again, we could do our document.writes in here. So let's see if we can write another for loop to print out those scores. All right, so 4, and in fact, I'll just steal this. All right, so I'm going to say in here that I want to do this 4 times. All right, and I'll say document.write, and I'll say score number. Okay, and I want it to say score number 1, score number 2, score number 3, and score number 4. Well, if I say plus LCV here, it'll have score 0, score 1, score 2, and score 3. So we'll put in here LCV plus 1. So that should say score 1, score 2, score 3, and score 4. All right, plus, and we'll put in here a colon, and then we will put in there the actual score. All right. Now, as we do this, when we get done, I believe at least, we're going to need a \n, and we'll put a couple of them in here. We'll just put 1 should be enough. Now let's see if that works. And we'll put this as well as a document.write. All right. So let's save this, run it again. And again, I'm keeping it simple. So 10, 20, 30, and 40. And why is it not writing anything? Let's see if we can figure out why. So I'm going to inspect here. I'm going to go over to console. All right, score is not defined. Okay. Because right there, it is scores, not score. So let's see if that was the error. And there was another error. Okay. Nope, it's not showing us anything. So why isn't it writing anything over here? Boy, this has been a fantastic start to the period. All right. Yeah, come on in. Okay, come on in. Good morning. So Grant, let me break away for just a minute. Okay, just so you guys know, let me give you each a card. And these are the 4 courses that are in the program. And right now I am literally broadcasting. So I've got a class that's got about a dozen students in it. There's only one that comes live. I mean, I've got one guy right now, believe it or not. He's in the Army and he's deployed in Hawaii. So he's there for the rest of March. So it's been a little tough for him because they have an assignment that was due yesterday and they have a tropical storm going on there. So I gave him an extension. It's not a problem. All right. I've got another guy that no joke. He's a paramedic. He works 80 to 120 hours a week. And I think he's doing this because he doesn't want to work 80 to 120 hours a week. And I've got several other students who are in different situations as well. Just have a seat, please. And the entire program is online. What you see in front of you right here, all right, what you have in front of you right there are the 4 classes. All right. So in the first year of the program, students take their classes Monday through Friday, and I broadcast live from 8:05 a.m. until 11:55 a.m. Now, I don't go for like 3 hours and 50 minutes straight. We'll go for about 50 minutes or 55 minutes. We'll take a 10-minute break, come back and do it again. I typically don't lecture any more than 3 hours at a crack, and probably most of them, I would say, they probably average out to about a couple hours. All right. If you look on that sheet I gave you at the very bottom, I've got my own YouTube channel. And if you go out to that channel that's out there, you don't have to do it now, of course, but if you go out there, I probably have somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 videos that are out there since I've been here. And I've been here almost 7 years. So every single assignment that students work on, everything that they do, everything, all of it is, every lecture that I do is taped and they're put out onto my YouTube channel. All right, the same day. I mean, usually it takes an hour or so to finish it up and get it produced and everything and put out there. If there's any kind of problems, it'll be the next day. All right, but again, if just so you see this, so if I go out here and right now I just go out to YouTube, all right, and I type in me, Jeff Scott hyphen Rankin Technical College, there I am. All right. And as an example, here is what I did in this class yesterday. Now, I don't know why it's that low sound, but you'll be able to hear it. All right. And it's probably because I'm broadcasting over broadcasting. But the point is, like I said, all those lectures are out there. So like from this semester, there's about 100 of them out there already. And today is the halfway point in the semester. All right. So the way that it works is that usually we go through anywhere from 1 to 3 chapters in a textbook that we have per week. All right. Every Friday, every Friday is a lab day. So I'm online. So if students have questions, we can meet. We use Microsoft Teams, which is Microsoft's version of Zoom. Okay. That's what I'm on right now. Okay. But every Friday is a lab day. So if students have questions or whatever, I'm online. We can either meet through Teams or we can just email back and forth. Students do both of them. All right. And then usually 2 days a week, our lecture. All right. And 1 day a week, we do stuff together as a group. All right. And then for every single class, basically, in the books that we use, you've got written tests, which are usually like 10 to 20 questions, and they're multiple choice. All right. They're all the answers basically are in the book, but you've got to read the chapter that's in the book. And then they've got labs and homework. They're very similar to one another, but you get a lot of hands-on in here. I can show you that in just a couple minutes. Okay, and that's for every one of the 4 classes. So in the first semester and what they're in right now, they basically learn how to create fairly simplistic websites. All right, everything they do is from the client side. Now let's suppose for a minute that you already had, hey, I already know website design. I've got a bunch of websites I've created already. You can try to test out of the class if you want. And to do that, what you have to do is you get 4 hours and you have to create a fairly simple website with 3 or 4 pages. That isn't bad. But to simulate the hands-on test that students take, you have to take a test with 130 questions on it, and you've got to get 70% right, which is basically 90 or above. I've had a couple students who've done that. I actually had a guy who did the test out, passed, but took the class anyway. And I said, well, why are you doing that? He said, well, I wanted to see if I had the knowledge, but he'd been creating websites for a living for a while, but he wasn't sure why he was doing some of the stuff he was doing. So he took the class anyway, and he said he got something out of it. So that's the first semester. In the second semester, so in that, I should say, in that first semester, you learn HTML, the hypertext markup language, CSS, cascading style sheets, and JavaScript, and that's what we're doing right now. All right. Then in the second semester, you learn the C# programming language, and you program business applications. All right. And basically, I didn't do it with a class last semester, but I'm developing something right now where we're going to be creating a payroll system. We're going to literally start on day one. And the book has got 15, 17 or something like that chapters in it. And most of the books we use are right here, and they're by a company called Murach. All right, they look like this, they're about that thick. And the way their books are set up is on the left-hand page, there's a bunch of words. And on the right-hand page, there's either code or there are tables explaining what's over here or examples explaining what's over here. So that's the way that we go over it. All right. Then in the third and fourth semester, students take their classes in the afternoon. So it's 12:05 p.m. to 3:55 p.m. All these are Monday through Friday. And the reason that one is 8 to 11:50 and the other is 12:05 to 3:55 is I'm the only one teaching it. All right. And, so we don't double up on classes. All right. So I've got the first year people in the morning, the second year people in the afternoon. So in the third semester, we do some more work with JavaScript, but rather than doing it on the client side where you're building websites, we do it on the server side where you create actual server-based applications that you can go and upload out to the internet. All right. And we do a lot of stuff with that. All right. Then finally, in the fourth semester, we we write C# applications that can run as web applications, so they can be downloaded out to the internet. All right. So that's the kind of thing that we work with. All right. I should have done a better job, but just to show you real quickly, see if I can find a couple of these. For example, one of the projects that we are working on in our fourth semester class right now, just so you see this, and it's not a whole heck of a lot to look at, but there's a lot of complex features and functionality in here already, even halfway into the course. So you come into here, come on, there we go. And it comes up and it's a mythical sales order application. So if you come right here, it's for a bicycle shop. So if I click on there's our products. Okay. And I can grab just the bicycles. I can grab the clothing. I can grab the components, etc. And for each one of them, we can view the details. So for instance, those are wheels. And I just grabbed these pictures from the internet. So, and when you click here, right now we're building in the functionality for this. But for right now, it just says that it was added to the cart. Eventually, it'll be a shopping cart system when we work through it. And the other thing that we have in here, if you look, it's kind of hard to see, but it says admin. So right now, anybody can log in as an admin and you can come in here, you can add new categories. You can update existing categories if you want to. You can delete existing categories, or you can come through here and do the same thing with the products. So like I just showed you a picture of those wheels, I could come in here and update it. So I could change anything that's in here. All right. If I wanted to. So I could change rather than being components. All right. For example, it looks like that actually should be wheels anyway. So it can be wheels. I can update it. Oh, that's nice. And it'll come in there and basically it'll do the update operations. That's a fourth semester. But let me see if I can find something in here. Like I said, I should have done a better job. We had a problem with something that came up this morning that, don't need to concern yourselves with, but something unexpected came up this morning. So, all right. Let's see if I can find this. Thanks for bearing with me, Grant. I appreciate it. We'll get back to it in just a couple of minutes. Now, students are required a couple things. You're required to have your own computer, and I recommend that it be a Windows computer. I've had a couple students who've gone through here trying to use a Mac or an Apple computer, and both of them have given up partway through and then just broke down and bought a Windows computer. I mean, if you go out to Best Buy or Walmart, you buy, even if it's stripped down, if it's got like 4 gig of RAM, and it's got a halfway decent size hard drive, that'll last you for both years without any problems. All the software that we use is open source, meaning that it's all free. All right, even the Microsoft stuff that we have, it's all free, so you don't have to pay for anything. That literally, to my knowledge at least, there's no cost for anything. The other thing that students have to do is you have to go in, and every semester you work on an electronic portfolio, because what we're finding is the people who hire our students, they don't want to see a piece of paper like this with a resume on it. They want to see examples of what you've done. So that electronic portfolio, all right, and it gets updated every semester. It's got examples of the students' work. All right. And we build one together. We've done this already, so they can take a look at it and see what's in here and the like. So there are no surprises in here, what I'm telling you. Now, in this class, I don't know why it's not finding it, but it's not. But in this class, we're having a test in here on Tuesday of next week. All right. We've already gone through talking about HTML and CSS. Now we're into JavaScript. So now they're learning to program. All right. And so we're having our first test on Tuesday. I'm giving them, I just call them pre-tests. So they're taking a pre-test, and I pass that out today. And on Monday, I'll give them an hour to work on it, and then I'll write the pre-test from scratch. So they have an idea of what the test is about. And I've even told them already, this pre-test that they're doing is actually going to be harder than their first test. Okay. Now, you can start the program in either the fall semester or the spring semester. If you start it in the fall semester, you go by that order: number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. If you start it in the spring semester, all right, if you start it then, normally we don't have an AWD1000 class like we have now. Normally that's fall only. All right. So some of the people who are in here, we just went to online this fall. All right, so we had to change around the order of some stuff. But normally, if you start in spring, you take course 2 first, then course 1, then course 3, and then course 4. All right, the reason I'm telling you that is Grant, for example, who's on the other end as I'm talking, he's already taken the C# class. So he's got a leg up on the people who are learning JavaScript now. Probably hasn't learned very much so far. It's just been a bunch of review for him because he's already covered that stuff. And a lot of the stuff that students do in here is repetitious. All right. Again, that's just the way that it is. Let me try one more time and see if I can find it in one of these. It's not. Here's one I can show you. All right. So this, for example, this is the kind of thing that you'd be able to build once you leave here. It's pretty simplistic. You'll notice in a couple seconds, the pictures will start to fade in and out. It's for a mythical gym. Okay. So you come in here, you've got that. This is just garbage text. We come in here, and you'll notice that if you come in here, that you can change the pictures. Again, these are all just things I grabbed from the internet. All right. And we got this, it's called an accordion, where you can go and add things, etc. All right. We've got this. This is an actual program. This is similar to what they'll be working on for their pretest. So in other words, if I don't put anything in there, it's asking for a height and a weight. So notice if I click that, it's giving me an error message. You wait 5 seconds and that error message will disappear like that. All right. If I put in something that's out of range, like if I said somebody was 1111111, which would be ridiculous, then I get a different error message. All right. Doesn't say it's required. It says it's got to be that size. But if I come in here and say that I'm 72 inches and in my dreams, I'm 175 pounds, I can click calculate, and it tells me that my body mass index is 23.73 and I'm optimal weight for my height. All right. So we do that kind of stuff. And then we get into where you actually create forms. Now, when we create forms like this, like I said, this first class is on the client side. So even if I fill everything in and I send that out, it doesn't go anywhere. All right. That's what you learn in the 3rd semester, is how to create a form and make it go someplace and react with it on the server side. So if I come in here and just start filling this in, you'll notice that, for example, if I leave it right here, everything is required, so I don't have a zip code in there. So what does it do? It tells me that the zip code is required and the cell phone is required. So if I come in and I put in a valid zip code here, all right, now the message goes away. It'll take either 5 numbers or a dash and 4 numbers. Oops. Okay. But if I only put in -3 numbers, which is invalid, it says invalid format. Okay. So, and then for a phone number, okay, there, there, there. And if I click submit, now it just comes in and it says everything was valid. All right. We do a lot of that kind of stuff in the first semester. It's just getting people used to working with, what they're working with. All right. I'll show you real quick. Go out here and show you this. Now this is Andrew. He's actually the student in here that I told you about that is working as a paramedic. All right. And if I come in here just to show you, they just completed a test on something that's called Bootstrap. And what Bootstrap is it basically allows you to work with HTML, kind of supercharges the CSS so you can make very nice looking websites with a lot of drag and drop kind of stuff. Now, I have his already here. Yeah, there it is. So this is what Andrew created in there. All right. So this is his portfolio. All right. And you can see he's got some stuff in here. It's also what's referred to as being responsive. So if I make this screen size smaller, you can see what happens to it. All right, still looks nice, etc. So that's simulating it on a cell phone. This would right here would be more the way it would end up looking if you were on a tablet. And then this is how it would look if you were on a laptop or a desktop. All right. So again, we do a lot of that kind of stuff. All right. Now that was very quick, but I've hit the high points with you. Any questions on anything I've shown you? No? All right. Well, I mean, you're welcome to sit in here as long as you want. And what I'm doing right now, in fact, I'm going to give them a break in a second. We're going over, since we're just starting JavaScript, we're going over some of the exercises that we're doing as a class. All right. And they're going to be assigned them. But usually what I do is typically when you, between your labs and your homeworks, you might have anywhere from 1 to 6 programs that you have to do. Usually it's going to be closer to 6. And we usually do 2 of them as a class. So they have an idea of what we're looking for. And then they're in charge of the other 2, or the other 4, I should say. You always get a minimum of a week to work on homework. And the way that it works too, since you're online, is, for instance, they've got some work that's due this weekend. All right. And if they turn in anything this weekend, so they've got stuff due from a couple chapters. And if they turn in just one written test, they're marked as being present. If they turn in nothing, they're marked as being absent. And again, these are the rules for online from Rankin. These are not my rules, but the way that it works is if you have 2 times during the semester, that's all you get, that you're able to be absent twice. If you're absent a 3rd time, I have to kick you out. Now, that said, if something happens, you get COVID or whatever, you can just apply for readmission, and 99 times out of 100, they'll let you back in if you've got a valid reason. All right. But we've had that kind of thing before. But if I don't kick you out on that day, all right, the software kicks in and they kick you out. All right. And then I get a nasty letter saying that we just kicked this person out. You should have been doing that. So that's, like I said, that's the way that it works. And that's how it works in all of the online classes, to my knowledge. Now, with those classes, you know, with some of the online stuff, I don't know if you ever meet with a person live. I have no idea, like with, for your English and, et cetera, those kind of classes. I don't know what that's like. Mr. Glenn that you just talked to, he could tell you how that stuff works, but I don't know. All right. They used to have it set up here that you could take them online or you could take them in the classroom. And you guys were probably in the other building. That other building, if you go towards the back of it, they got a real big, large hall in there. They used to have 100 people in there, and they would have an English class in there with 100 people. All right. But they just decided it didn't work very well for a lot of logistical reasons. That's not a great room for sound. Some people were trying to listen to it online. It didn't work very well. So they changed it up, and every single thing that's in there is online. But that's pretty much it as far as what I can tell you for the program. So like I said, Grant, we'll start back up at 10 after 9. And you want to sit and watch as I write some programs, that's fine. And, if that's enough for you, that's fine. But like I said, you've got my card. If you have any questions, feel free to call. Email is a lot better. I will tell you the truth that since this class, the whole program is online, this is day 40. This is the third day that I've actually come into campus. The other 37 days I'm broadcasting from my house. All right. I like it a lot better. Works a lot nicer for me, for a lot of different reasons. But the reason I came in today was for you two. Now, it's nice that you came because the other 2 times I came in were also for shadow attacks, and neither one of them showed. So, I was in here by myself, which is okay. It's all right. Things happen. I get it. All right. And normally they have a whole class in here. This is normally a hardware class. All right. They take these computers apart, they put them back together again. And there's machines over there, some routers and stuff where they make the computers talk to one another and talk to the computers in St. Louis, etc. All right. But it's normally hardware. This semester, there is not a hardware class in the morning in this room. There's one next door, but there's not one in here. That's why they let me come in here when I want to. Now, this afternoon, my class is a lab, but I'm going to go into the other building and I'm going to be down 2 doors from where Mr. Glenn's office is. There's a conference room in there, and I'll be in there. So, like I said, you're welcome to stick around. You want to take off, you can take off, whatever you'd rather do. But if again, if you have any questions, more than happy to at least try to answer them.
So you said for the, what I had to put it. So you said to not be counted absent as long as there's anything in that week?
Yes, that's the way that I was told to do it. So every week you get, if let's say we went over 2 chapters that week, you'll have 2. In fact, let me show you here. So with where they are right now, we've gone over this week, we went over chapters 1, 2, and 3. Chapter 1 was a lot of review from the old part of the class. So what they have to do in here is this 1-1, they just tell you to look at a program. That's it. There's no work on there. But they've got to do 2-1, modify this, and 3-1 to modify this. All right. And then, so that's their labs. And then for their homework, they've got to go in and they've got to do 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, and 3-4. Now, that might sound like a lot, but with most of these programs that are in here, they're redoing ones that were in the chapter, and they're just making some additions and modifications to them. All right. And again, we're doing a couple of those together as a class. All right. And then the rest of them will be assigned. So again, so there's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. And there are 1, 2 there. All right. So 7. And right now we're going to do 3 or 4 of them together as a class, and the rest they'll be assigned as we go on and they get a little more comfortable with what they're doing. So notice the next one we're going to do is 4 and 5. So there's 1, 2, 3 here. Nice. So there's, like I said, 1, 2, 3 there. And so what's here, there'll be 1, 2, 3 here, so 6. We'll probably do 2 of them as a class, and they'll have to do the other 4. We'll always do at least 1 of the extra exercises and 1 of the short exercises that we do together. And I tend to do that in all the classes that I teach. Now, some instructors don't like that I do that. All right. And the reason they don't like it is they assign everything. And I take most of the stuff that I create for students, I put out there on my YouTube channel, I make it public. So sometimes when the other instructor in St. Louis, when his students find out about it, they subscribe to my channel because then they know they've got at least 1 or 2 of the problems done already because they watch me do them. See what I'm saying? And so I've gotten some grief, but I said, I don't care. I'd rather do that and have students have a comfort level by having 1 done that they're doing with me as opposed to having to start and do all of it themselves. Again, that's just the way I feel. Not everybody agrees with that. So. No other questions? Sure.
So I wanted to start out trying it online.
Uh-huh.
I don't have a good history of doing both
I
online.
understand.
So if I ended up figuring out that I'm not good at doing it online, would I
Yes.
be able to transfer to St. Louis?
Yes. In fact, we had one of my afternoon students who's going to graduate in May, Clayton. He started out in St. Louis, and I don't know if I think it was work related. He hurt his knee, and the doctor said you can't do anything for 2 weeks. And the good news is it was right at the beginning of the second semester. He'd already taken his first semester in St. Louis. And when this happened, it was like, so he talked to Evan, who's my counterpart out in St. Louis, and he said, can I transfer into here? On the online program, and he's now taken the last 3 classes with me online. All right. Yeah, but we've had that kind of stuff happen before. Yeah, that's not a problem at all. Now, what you're going to find is, I teach here. I'm the only one here. Mr. G or Mr. Gudmisted, he was the only guy. We had 2 teachers in St. Louis. One of them was offered literally double the salary he was making to go back and start programming again. So he, as you probably guess, he quit and he's doing that. They hired another gentleman, but they only hired him like a month ago. So I know nothing about him other than I've seen him through Zoom meetings. He seems like a nice guy. His name's Doug. It's like Gebelman or Gegelman or something like that. And, will they ever hire more people? I don't know. But I know Mr. G, Mr. Gudmisted, he really knows his stuff. He's very good. And he's, so if you needed to or wanted to go over there, but again, I had up until this year, this room would have been filled with people. I would have had my whole class in here. We had a regular classroom class. I had a woman about 4 years ago. She lived in Baldwin, and she said literally it was almost the exact same distance to go from Baldwin to here or Baldwin to the St. Louis campus where she was. So she spent the first year in St. Louis, but she hated the drive. She said during the summer, she started coming here and she liked the drive better. So she transferred and did her last year here. But like I said, as far as that stuff goes, everybody's different. Anything else? No. Well, like I said, you're welcome to stick around, or you want to take off, you could take off, but it's just going to be me, like I said, talking to the computer. All right. And it's funny. Last semester, I did have one shadow attack where he showed, and a guy came in with his sister, and she asked all the questions. He was going to be in the program, but she was asking, and she's like, "This is really what you do? You sit and talk to a computer?" I said, "Yeah, but there's people on the other end." All right. And there are times when I'll lecture, there isn't anybody on the other end. That's hard because one nice thing about Grant, who's my student here, is if he doesn't get something, he'll ask. And I always appreciate that. Now, sometimes what'll happen is I'll have somebody who's taking the course online, but is not there live, and they watch the tape and they have questions. All right. And they'll email me. And again, if we need to, so we can come in at any time and I can literally at any time either have a chat with them online or I can call them. I mean, some of these calls in here, like for instance, Brandon was the one, he actually called me from Hawaii. All right. And I mean, Evan's the instructor, but James is one of my students, and there's other ones. So we can talk, literally, you can just talk through your computer. We can do that, or like I said, we can just have chats. I can have a chat and I can have a chat with everybody in the class, or I can just have a chat with a certain student. All right, there's a lot of different ways that we can do this. Now, one of the things, that Mr. Thedmiston does is he uses Discord and he sets up a Discord server. And what it sounds like, you'd have to ask him. I don't want to say this and be wrong. Okay, so I could be wrong. But I think the way that his is set up is he expects you to be in the classroom. But I think he does allow you to log in from home. I'm not saying every day, but I think he allows you to do that. I'm not positive. All right. And the funny thing is, if we walked out right now, he's actually here today. They're interviewing for another instructor for the hardware program, and he's on the interview team. So he's actually, if you just wanted to see what he looked like or whatever, he's probably in the conference room that's right down here.
I have a visit for the same.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And like I said, you sure wouldn't be hurting having him as an instructor. He'll probably, if you do that, he'll probably have you meet Doug. And from what I heard, he's going through, like with Evan's class, he's doing the homeworks. Not grading them, but doing it so he has an understanding of what the students are doing. And he's sitting in and watching Evan lecture. That, to my knowledge, that's what's going on in there. And I could be wrong, but that's what Evan told me at least he was going to do. All right. Okay, well, thanks for coming in. Like I said. Good morning. Did you guys want to meet in here? Okay. All right, that's Mr. Corrigan. He actually, up until this semester, was the department chair, but he's got moved up a level, so he's an administrator now, and he oversees almost all of the programs at the entire college. We have right now, there's the location here. There is a location in St. Louis. You may or may not know it, but they opened one up earlier this year or late last year in Troy. They're broken ground. They're creating another one in Ashland that's going to open up, I think, in September, and they have one in Perryville. There's plans for 2 or 3 more too, so they must be doing all right. And if you've never heard the story, back in the late 20s, there was a guy, a St. Louis businessman named David Rankin. Yeah, Rankin. And he was dying. And he went to the mayor of St. Louis and said, I don't have any heirs. I'd like to do something to kind of preserve my legacy. So they basically kind of talked the guy into creating a technical college. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to the St. Louis campus, but if you go into the main building, it's all marble and stuff in there. That's the one that was literally built in like 1929. All right, now where Mr. G teaches, it's the building right next to it. It's more updated building, but it's not marble staircases, etc. All right. And I mean, that was how the whole thing started. And from what I've heard, I heard this from our current president, that the school is financially solvent enough. They have enough socked away that they have absolutely no doubt they'll be able to keep going for at least the next 100 years at a minimum. Yeah, they have several million put away in their coffers. So, yeah, and it's, if you do go to the St. Louis campus, as an example, you'd have to dress like this. You buy a Rankin shirt. If you're in this program, you can't wear jeans. You're expected to wear more dressy pants. I mean, there's, and he would tell you all about this stuff. And there's weird stuff too, like you can't wear white socks. You can't wear tennis shoes. There's Mr. G. You're going to see the gentleman here tomorrow as part of your shadow. He's going to come into Shadow Tech tomorrow because he doesn't know if he'd rather do it online or actually in the campus. So I told him all the bad.
Shadow Tech. I just have a visit there.
Oh, okay. So I told him all the bad stuff about you.
Must be still talking.
No, it's nothing. I actually just the opposite. And he's also a runner. So where I've got it all here, I'd like to give him 100 pounds,
So, you coming out to the St. Louis location tomorrow?
Yeah, I have a visit there tomorrow at 1.
Okay. So you're checking out Winslow and St. Louis?
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
how sure you are in that, so.
Well, he had said, I'm paraphrasing what you said, that he didn't know how successful he might be if he was in an online type of format.
Yeah.
But I did mention to him that he still would have to take his gen eds online.
Right. Yeah, we're in person every day there. And some people like the online format, so we got.
Well, I told him you've got Discord too, so do you expect your students to be in the classroom every day? Or
Yeah, our students are in the classroom.
they are every day, every student? Okay, so then that's the way it is.
Stop and say hello. Got an interview 15-20 minutes.
Yeah,
So. Yeah, we've been doing this collectively, the two of us.
Yeah.
I mean, for a long time, teaching, so.
Yeah.
A lot of experience between the two of us.
well, and I told him we had another teacher here who was offered quite a bit more money to go back into industry. And
It's a competitive,
Yeah.
competitive industry.
yeah, and I told him,
More than double the salary.
right, and I told him that you've got Doug now and
Yeah.
that he's basically shadowing you kind of and
Yeah.
trying to get up to speed on everything, so.
So the new instructor, he's got 20 years of programming experience under his belt. So. Yeah, got a lot of experience under the belts. All right. Have a good day.
All right, you too. All right, see you later. Like I said, he knows his stuff, and he's another one. His name is Evan Gudmestad, Gudmestad. And if you just search for Evan Gudmestad Rankin, he's got a lot of videos that are out there too. I don't know if he's got his own channel. I've never checked, but he probably does. Look. Sure.
So are they expected to be in that live every single day? Or is it okay if they watch the video afterwards?
No, for me, in the online, no, I have very few people who come every day. Now, my afternoon class, it's a smaller class. There's only about a half dozen in there. And two of them come every day. All right. The rest of them don't. And that's okay. You know, I don't have a problem with that. All right. And the ones who I say when they come every day, let's just put it this way, it 7 out of 8 days. You know what I'm saying? They might miss for whatever reason. So, yeah, that's Evan right there. So Evan Gudmestad. So if you come there, you can find his stuff. I don't know what he has in here, you know, but he has playlists and stuff just like I do. So you can go through there and take a look. And that's good, you know, like, I don't know when I think they had it in St. Louis already, but here, April 1st, we have an open house. You know, and what I typically do on that day is I sit in this room and the hardware people are in that room. And when people come through, I just show them examples of projects that people have created, like the one I showed you with the gym. You know, and there's other stuff that of course that we do too, and I show them that kind of stuff. Now, again, I wasn't aware of that until he just said it, but yeah, I guess if you are in St. Louis, the way it works, if you take a classroom class, well, you meet 5 days a week. All right, so you are allowed one more day than the number of days you meet per week. So in other words, you can have up to 6 absences. On the 7th absence, the same thing happens, that they kick you out, but you can basically try to get back in again. All right, but in there, after you have like 3 absences, for the 4th one, there's usually a form that you have to, that gets filled out, but you have to sign it. Mr. G will have to sign it. And it says, hey, you know, you've already missed 4 days, you only get 2 more. After the 5th one, then normally you've got to have somebody else has got to sign it too with you, or some supervisor, and then another supervisor on the 6th one rather. So what they're doing is they're trying to let you know, hey, we don't want you to get kicked out of here. So, you know, and that's typically the way that it's done. That's the way I've always done it, is you got a form, you go through with that. So the only thing they don't allow you to do is like, I mean, if see Mr. G in my afternoon class, 2 days ago, I lectured on working with cookies. And when I looked on his, the first thing that he had up in here was working with cookies. So we're on the same spot. In fact, we talked this morning. I had a meeting with him as he lives in Belleville. So he was driving into St. Louis and we had a meeting while he was driving. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we meet over Teams, but this was just, we're meeting that way. And we're exactly at the same spot in my class as we are in his class. Again, you know, what you said is, I mean, it's a great point, because Some people find it very hard to sit and concentrate and be able to work in an environment where there's nobody, there's no big brother watching them. And other people like doing it that way, you know? I mean, I had a friend who, during COVID and stuff, he's a steel salesman. And they told him that 2 days a week he could work from home. All right, that was good for him because he literally had to drive an hour every day, but he had to go in the other 3 days. But I said, how do you do it? You know, because he was still doing really well. He said, you're gonna laugh. He said, I put my suit on, I go into my basement and I've made an office down there. He said, and when I put his sign up, he said, kids can't come down, my wife can't come down. He said, I'm on the phone calling customers and it's like I'm at work. Now, one of my daughter, her husband sells health products. He's been working at home ever since COVID hit. And he gets tons more done from home. He lives in St. Peter's, but it took him an hour to drive down. He worked where his office is right across the street from the Chaffetz Center. And normally it would take him an hour to get down there every morning with traffic and an hour coming home. So now he sits at home and he starts at 7:30 and he works till 4:30, but he's getting so much more done because he's at home. Like I said, he's adjusted to it, but you walk over there at any time, unless he's got a Zoom meeting someday, he'll be dressed like kind of like you are, you know, have his Blues jersey on and whatever. He doesn't care. He doesn't have to. Like I said, everybody's different as far as whether or not they can handle that. Okay, anything else?
Since he said that they had to wear, you said they had to wear the uniforms, I expected to wear that tomorrow.
No.
Think it's the students.
Yeah, just the students. And one thing that's interesting too, if you guys want to see one of the things that kind of sets this place apart from a lot of other places is 1 week from today at the St. Louis campus. All right. Literally like right across, it's not a street, but it's a little like a little driveway kind of from where the main part is where you'll be going in probably tomorrow. Yeah, that's the automotive center. They have a job fair in there and they're going to have close to 400 companies. Now, they of course won't be all for IT, but they'll probably be somewhere between 5 and 10%. So between 20 and 40 companies that'll be looking for graduates of programs, either the program there or this program. And we have that several people have gone through that. You know, you bring a resume, etc., with you. And that day, what you'll find is some people will dress like this, but some will literally that day will wear a suit. You know, or women will wear a dress or whatever, you know, and everybody's different with that. But even with that, you know, if you're interested, you could probably ask Mr. G tomorrow. They don't check people at the door. You know what I'm saying? So if you wanted to come in and look at that, just see how it is. It's so huge because that automotive center is humongous. That's in there. It's like, I think it's, somebody told me it's like the size of 3 football fields or something like that. And you go in there and there's just company after company. You know, some of them are looking for automotive people, some of them are looking for diesel people, etc. Some of them will have all there and they're looking for people who'll do just about anything. But I worked at another college. I'm originally from Wisconsin and I worked at 2 colleges in Wisconsin. We had nothing like that. All right. I literally a lot of times was the one going out trying to help students find jobs. Right here, they've got a lot of relationships that they've created with a lot of different companies. And it's been a good thing, you know. Like I said, that's really all I have. Okay, so you stick around as long as you want or take off. It's totally up to you. I appreciate you both coming in. All right, let's get back to this grant. So let's take a look at what we were working on. All right, before we had the break here. So, all right. So what you saw from what we had in here previously is, again, we came in, we declare our constants, and we declared our variables. I want to say this again, it's an important concept that when you are working with a scalar variable or a variable that holds only a single value and you create a constant, that can't change. So if I came in here and tried to change min test score or max test score down here someplace, I'd get an error. On the other hand, remember, we talked about this before. I could make this a const. Even though it's an array, even though I'm reading values in, you can do that. And you can change the values that are in there. What you will find out when you take the class next semester, the AWD1111 class, database-driven web development, when you're doing JavaScript from the server side, what you're going to find out is you make almost everything you create will be a constant. And the reason that constants are preferred over lets for variables is the way that constants are stored and the way they're accessed. You can store them and take up less memory, and you can access them faster than you can by using let. All right. Now, it still wasn't working, and I'm not sure why. I don't, for the life of me, don't know why I put while loops inside of for loops before, but again, this works. All right. So if we did want to go in, we probably, in fact, let's see if we can do this. So let me grab this right here, and I'm going to comment this out. All right, just this section right here. Now, I'm not going to run the program now because, of course, I'd get an error. All right, but let's come in and let's use a while loop instead of a for loop. So we already came in, and we will now come in and we will create a loop control variable called LCV, and we'll initialize that to 0. All right, so I'm going to say here, while LCV is less than scores.length. So while it's less than 4, because we want to go through it between 1 and 3. All right, so I am going to do just like we did before, and I'm going to say scores LCV equal, and we'll do just like we did before. So I will come in here and I will do a parse int, and I will do a prompt and say enter test score. And we'll just put in here now 0 through 100. All right, so that the user knows that. We'll even give it a default value. All right, and we'll say that the default value on this will be, let's say 75. All right, so let's take a look and see if this works. Okay, so it should come through here and it should say enter test score. I mean, it's not going to say 1, 2, 3, or 4. We could change that, but I want to see if this works and allows us to put in 4 test scores. So enter test score. So again, we'll put in here 45, enter test score 55, enter test score 65, and enter test score 75. All right. Now it's coming through here. And why? Well, I put this into an infinite loop. All right, not on purpose, but let's fix that right away, and then we'll go back and run it again. The reason it's in an infinite loop was stupid me. Well, after I do this, I've got to go and add. So I got to come in here and say LCV plus plus or plus plus LCV. All right, that'll add 1 to it. So now it'll only read 4. Let's change this so that it says enter test score 1, then enter test score 2, then enter test score 3, then enter test score 4. So we'll say here plus and we'll put here LCV plus 1. All right. And then another plus here and have it say 0 through 100. All right. So I'm looking here to see if I made any mistakes, but it doesn't like something. So we've got this. We've got 1, 2, 3. That needs to be inside of paren. All right. So plus, okay, I think that's correct. So let's take a quick look now. All right, so there's enter test score 1. So again, we'll be 45, enter test score 2, 67, enter test score 3, 78, enter test score 4, 89. All right, that all worked. Okay, Still looks a little funky in here. So let's see if we are in a loop, in an infinite loop, or where we are. I'm going to go into inspect here, and I'm going to go to console. It is not showing any errors, but it is giving me 5 warnings. It says failed to execute the write on document. It isn't possible to write into a document from an asynchronously loaded external script unless it is explicitly opened. Okay. That isn't true because you've already seen that. We already did a document.write before and it worked just fine earlier. But what we can do in here, for now at least, is we can come in and we can change this to an alert just to see whether or not it's working. So I'm going to make that an alert, and I'm going to make this an alert. When I use alerts, then instead of the \n, I believe I need BR tags. I could be wrong here, but we're going to find out right now. So again, let me save this. What's that? You're right. Thank you. All right, so we'll come back and try to run this. So test score 1, 66, test score 2, 77, test score 3, 88, test score 4, 99. All right, it doesn't like the BR, but test score 1, 66, test score 2, 77, test score 3, 88, test score 4, 99, and the average looks like it's screwed up, so we'll fix that right away too. All right, but that's all working, so that's good. So we will try, instead of having these in here, all right, since they're an alert, we don't need them anyway. All right, we'll try to put in here a \n, which is a new line. All right, so we've got those alerts. So why wasn't this working? Average equals total points, which I removed. So we have to come in here and say this. Total points plus equal scores LCV. All right. So right there. And that goes here. All right. So let me try that again. All right. So our first test score, I'm making all these up, 67. Didn't like something. Score is not defined. I think that will fix it. All right. 67, 88, 99, and a 91. So there's test score 1, test score 2, test score 3, test score 4. All right. And there's our average. So that's working. All right. We still have to figure out how to come in and do some range checks on this. And I've got way too much junk open here. All right. But that's what we're looking for in the first one. So you should be able to come in here and do this. Now that we've done this, we've got the while, we've got the prompt. All right. Let's see if we can come in here and force the user into putting something that works, for lack of better words. All right. So inside of here, I don't know if it'll take this. There we go. So inside of here, we have just prompted for a test score. So I'm going to come in and say while is NaN, all right, scores LCV. So again, if they put something non-numeric in here, let's just try testing it there first. So if they put something in there that's non-numeric, all right, so while that's the case, we're just going to ask them to do it again. And I want to see if it's going to catch that. So if we put in non-numeric input, I want to see if it's going to catch this or not catch it. So it asks us for that. We'll put in hello. And notice it's still stuck on score 1. So if we leave it blank, it should still stay on score 1, and it is. But if we put in something that makes sense, now it went to score 2. So that's good. So that is now handling non-numeric input. All right, let's see if we can add to this. All right, so while it's not a number like that, all right, or scores LCV is less than our min test score. We already looked at this, all right, or scores LCV is greater than our max test score. So now what we're doing is we're running the whole gamut here. And what I mean is, what we're saying is, if either we put something non-numeric in, or if we put in something that was less than 0, or if we put in something that was greater than 100, hopefully it's going to keep us stuck in this loop, and it won't allow us to go on until whatever we put in is correct. So let's see if indeed that's the case. All right, so enter test score 1, 75 is okay. Then we'll use 40, 90, and 67. So that works, but those were all valid values that we put in there. Let's try it again and put in invalid values. So I'm leaving score 1 blank, and it's asking me to do it again. I'm going to put in a negative number, which should be illegal, and it's still asking me to do it again. I'm going to put in 101, which is above our biggest range. And again, it asks me to do it again. All right, so that seems to work. So let's say 70. Now let's try the same thing with score 2. I'm going to put in a negative value. It doesn't take it. I'll put in something over 100. It doesn't take it. But if I put in a 34, which is within range, it takes it. Leave this. Okay, didn't take it. It didn't take it. All right. And then for the last one, we'll do the same thing. We'll finally put in something that's valid. All right. And there are our scores. So it all worked. So this worked. For some reason, it didn't like that with the for loop, but by putting it in here with while, it took it. Now, what this means too is that when you look at this, this is the whole outer while loop block right there. Inside of the outer while loop, I've got an inner while loop. That's known as nesting. When you put a loop within a loop, or you put something within something, that's known as nesting. So I am nesting right there. So it's going to read in a score. It will validate it. All right. So again, this is attempt to input 4 test scores. All right. And this would be validate each test score. All right. Now, with just printing out with alerts, of course, that's terrible. That just looks crummy. All right. Could we fix that? The answer is we should be able to. So let's create another variable here that we're just going to call str for string. We're going to set it equal to nothing. And we're going to try to build this thing out. All right. So I'm going to say in here, instead of this alert, I'm going to say str plus equals. All right. And we'll put in this, and it'll have the current score. So it should have in it everything. All right. So we've got that. So it should have score 1, score 2, score 3, score 4, etc. It should have all that stuff. Not only that, we should be able to do that using template literals. Let's see if we can. So we've got all that. All right, this will now be a $ LCV plus 1. All right, and this, you see why you like to use template literals. You can get rid of all these plus signs that we've got in here. So that should be score number. All right, and then we can put in a colon like we had before, and then we want the score. So again, that should be scores LCV. All right. I don't know if you agree or don't agree, but that's a little bit easier to read. And once you've looked at it a little bit, it's a little bit easier to figure out. Bet we don't want even a space there. All right. So that should do it for that one. Before we run it, let's add and put this in there as well. So str plus equals. And again, we'll use our backticks, \n. All right. Average equal. And now we can come in here. And again, we're using our backticks here. So we can come in here and say average dot toFixed to 2 decimal places like that. All right. And end our backtick. Okay. Now it doesn't like something. So it looks like I am missing a parenthesis. There we go. All right. Then I don't know if it'll take a document.write. It didn't seem to like that before, but document.write str. And just in case it doesn't take that, we'll do an alert of str. Now I'm going to run this, and I'm not going to run through the validations again because we've already done that. All right. So we'll just put in 4 numbers that we know work. So 78, 67, 99, and 81. All right. Well, it doesn't like that. We'll fix that in just a second. Okay. So it didn't like what we wrote, and it didn't take this. Are we going to get the same error message in here? Fail to execute the write on the document. It isn't possible to write into a document from an asynchronously loaded external script unless it is explicitly opened. All right. Haven't had that error before, but it's no biggie. All right. So let's see if we can figure out why this wasn't printing. All right. Average equal. There's our average. toFixed to 2 decimal places. That should be okay. And this, we're adding into here, score, the LCV, and have it here as well. Score is LCV. Not sure why that's not giving us values. It's not, but I'm not sure why it's not. Let's try it without the backticks. All right. So we'll say in here, score plus LCV plus 1. All right. Plus the colon. Plus that. Like that. All right. All I'm trying to do in here is have it print out each one of the values on the screen. All right. So this should give me a, all right, this hopefully will give me a new line. Score, then the score number, but since it starts with 0, we want it to say score 1. All right. Then we should have a colon, then a space, then the actual score. All right. And it should be adding to this str thing every time. Then we want to do the same thing with the average. So we want this to say average equal average dot toFixed to 2 decimal places. See whether or not that works. All right, we'll put in here four scores, 66, 77, 88, and 99. There they are. Score 1 is 66, score 2 is 77, score 3 is 88, score 4 is 99, giving us an average of 82.5. All right, so all of that right now, not only does it all appear to be working, but we have built-in error handling. So I want to go over this very quickly because we've spent too much time on this one anyway. We had two constants, a minimum test score and a maximum test score. We had 5 variables. The first one is going to be scores, which is going to be our array that holds our 4 test scores. All right. These will be the total of all 4 scores. This will be all 4 scores divided by 4. This is our loop control variable. This can now be removed. All right. And this is the string we use to write everything out. All right. So we read in a score, we validate it. As long as it's invalid, we keep asking you to do it again and again and again and again. Eventually, hopefully you put in something valid. So we add whatever you put in there for a value to our total points, and we increment our loop control variable by 1. So we go through this process 4 times. Then we fall out and we take our 4 test scores, divide them by 4, and then we print out. So print out all input and calculated info. All right. So my question to you, Grant, is there anything in there that doesn't make sense?
So I was having some issues with the while loop, but I just ended up using kind of the for loop that we had before, and I think I got everything that the assignment was calling for, and I got it printing out okay. But I just took some screenshots. I probably am just missing a letter or
Well, yeah, you
symbol.
could just have been missing a paren, an ending
Yeah.
paren or whatever. That's possible too.
But
But
I think I understand this stuff. We did it last semester.
right,
So.
I know this is similar to the kind of stuff. Actually, this is more simplistic than the stuff that we were doing in most of the C# class. So, well, look at it. If you can't get it to work, just like you said, you've got some screenshots, send me an email or just zip the file and send it to me and I'll take a look at it.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah, and
All right.
it's working. It's just the validation really that
Okay.
you
Okay.
added.
And I don't even think in there you weren't even asked to validate.
No.
All right. So it's no big thing one way or the other. All right. So there's the first one. And let's take a look at what else was in here. All right. So that was the other ones, not the extra exercises, the shorts. So in here, we just modified the test scores. I'll let you work on this one. Enhance the future value app. So let's look at that one. This is what it looks like now. You've got basically all of this stuff, but the stuff that's in there is compounded annually. We want to find out what would happen if it was compounded monthly. So here's a big hint. Do what you're doing up here, but divide it by 12 for the interest rate. All right. So rather than taking 7.5 and dividing it by 100, you do want to still do that, but also divide that answer by 12. So previously, if you had a value in there like 7.5, you were doing this, 7.5 divided by 100. Why would you do that? Because that's going to give you 0.075. That actually is 7.5%. All right. But now what I'm telling you is if you want to do it monthly, then what you want to do is you want to take 7.5 and divide that by 100 and then divide that by 12. All right. Now, when you do that, the other thing is when you're compounding it annually, you're only multiplying it once because you're doing it once a year. All right. But what you're going to have to do with this, since it's monthly, is you're going to have to compound it monthly and do that 12 times per year. Hopefully what I just said made sense. Grant, to you or anyone else who's watching this, if it does not, then please just send me an email and let me know. All right. So let's go on to the other ones that are in here. All right. We've got convert Fahrenheit to Celsius, enhance the Fahrenheit to Celsius app, convert number grades to letter grades. All right, let's just jump right into this enhanced one because they're the same program, but we're just adding to it. So let's jump into that one. All right, so what we want to do is we want to allow the user to read in a value, but that value must be between -100 and +212. That's our range. Once we do that, then we want to convert it from Fahrenheit because it's representing a Fahrenheit temperature, and we want to convert that to its Celsius equivalent. All right, again, I'm not worried about prettying it or whatever. I believe all of you can do that stuff on your own. But I'm going to let's grab this first. Read an application. Yeah, it goes. Yeah. It does that. Yeah. I'm more concerned with this because that's the line where you do the calculation. All right, so I'm going to copy that to the clipboard. I'm going to come into here. And with where we have been in here, we are creating this JavaScript. So that was the short 2.1. All right, let's come in here, and this will be the exercise 3-1. All right. And I've already got in here the index file, the JavaScript, and the CSS. So let's come in and immediately open this in code. Nothing new here. All right. So we'll bring up our index file. We'll do our Emmet shortcut. We'll come in here and we'll put in enhanced Fahrenheit to Celsius converter. Like that. Rid of that. Okay. And we will add again our link tag, which will be under CSS/styles. Yeah, and it's still spelled wrong. So let's make sure that it's spelled correctly. All right, so we've got that. And let's add our script tag with defer again and source equals, and that is js/scripts.js. All right, and end our script. So we've got all that. That's no biggie. All right. And that's everything that we need in our HTML file. Again, I'm not putting in the pretty stuff, so I'm not putting anything in the CSS file. Let's jump right into our scripts file. All right. In fact, in here, yeah, we said scripts, so that's good. All right, so let's go look in this file right here and let's put in what we need. All right. So if we go back and we look at the specs, it basically just said what we want to do in here is input a number between -100 and +212, and then convert the number which represents a Fahrenheit temp to its Celsius equivalent using this formula. Right there. So to convert, subtract 32 from the Fahrenheit temperature, then multiply that result by 5 divided by 9. Okay, so we'll do all that right now. Now, let's think about what we have to do first. Well, we have to declare and initialize our program constants. All right. So we'll call this min far for minimum Fahrenheit. We'll set that equal to -100. And we'll have another one that's called max far. Now you can come in and put a plus sign in here. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but it's superfluous. In other words, it's unnecessary to add that. So I'm just going to remove the plus sign there. All right. And what else do we want to do? Well, let's set this up so that we can do it more than once if we want to. All right. So I'm going to come in here now and I'm going to declare and initialize the program variables. And we will we'll call them what they are. So we'll let Fahrenheit equals 0.0, and we will let Celsius also equals 0.0. All right. So Fahrenheit's what we're going to read in. Celsius is going to be what we're converting to. All right. And then we'll also let, again, just like we had done yesterday, and we will have first char, and that'll be that first character, plus we'll have a run program again, and that will be our Boolean variable. We want that to be true. All right. So our constants and our variables. All right. We want to keep running this until we don't want to run it anymore. So we're going to say while run program again. Remember, putting that in there like that is a shortcut for saying while run program again equal true. You can use either one. So if that aids in your understanding, do it that way, but this is less typing. Okay? So again, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to say far equals, not far, I'm sorry, Fahrenheit equals, and we will do a parse float here because it's possible somebody puts in a value with a decimal, and we're going to say prompt, enter a temp between, okay, and we could use our constants. Let's just say -100 and 212. We'll do it like that. I am going to word wrap. All right. And I'm going to say with that, we will give it a default value. Let's just say 75 for 75 degrees. All right. Now, that'll work. I'm not going to run it now because we're not changing the value of run program again. Okay. In fact, let's do that. We'll make run program again. We'll set it equal to false just to see if we can run this and it asks us to enter a temperature. All right.
You have run program instead of run program again.
Okay. But you're right. And it's going to end up being screwed up. But the point is, okay, it is taking it. That's
Okay.
good. Thank you, though. All right. So that should be run program again. So it will work. All right. So we do that, and that's going to do our input. But again, we have to make sure that first it's numeric, and second, it's within range. The exact same thing we just did. So we're going to do data validation. That's what this is. So I'm going to say while is not a number, Fahrenheit, or Fahrenheit is less than the minimum Fahrenheit, or the Fahrenheit, oops, try that again. We know that if we've got one of these situations, that what we entered was illegal. So again, I'm just going to copy this same line in. All right, now I'll put in my run program again equal false. And we'll see if we can keep you stuck in this loop until you enter a value that is between negative 100 and positive 212. All right. So it asks us, we'll leave it blank. It asks us again, we'll put in negative 101, which is out of range. It asks us again, we will put in 213, which is out of range. It will ask us again, we'll just put in some letters. It'll ask us again, if we leave it at 75, which is valid, it stops. Good, the program right now is working. All right, so right now we have done our data validation. So we're gonna come in here then, and we're gonna say our Celsius, and I think that's what we called it here, Celsius, yep, is equal to our Fahrenheit temperature minus 32, and then multiply that by 5 divided by 9. I think that's the formula we were given up here. Subtract 32 from the Fahrenheit, then multiply that result by 5/9. We need the parens here because if we don't put in the parens, it's going to do this first, then it'll take the result of that and multiply it by 32. That would be wrong in virtually 100% of the cases. All right. Then we will say here, again, we can do a string or we can just do it in an alert. It doesn't matter. So I'll put it in alert and I will say Fahrenheit degrees F, we'll just do it like that, equals, and it'll be Celsius degrees Celsius, like that. All right, now let's see if that works. Okay, 0 degrees Fahrenheit is what? Or 0 degrees, I always get them mixed up. So let's just run it, see what it looks like. In fact, we'll put 32 in here. Okay, so let's run it. So if we put a 0 in there, it says 0 degrees Fahrenheit is negative 17 point something degrees Celsius. Let's do it the other way. So we'll run it again and we'll say 32 degrees Fahrenheit is 0 degrees Celsius, which I believe is correct. All right. So it now appears to be working. So the only thing we have left to do is we don't want to do this. We want to ask if they want to do it again. So again, equals, it's just a prompt, and we'll say run program again. And we'll say enter in either a yes or a no. All right, like that. Okay, and we'll even default it. So we'll default it to yes, meaning yes, you want to run it again. All right. Then we have to check to see what they put in there. All right. Remember, they could have put an uppercase Y, a lowercase y, or the word yes or whatever. So we're going to say again equals again dot to uppercase. So that'll take the whole thing and make it uppercase. All right. But if we only want to pluck out the first character, so first char equals again dot char at position 0. Now we can do our if statement that says if first char, if it's not equal to y, All right, we're done. So run program again will be equal to false. That should be everything we need. Let's check. So we will run this again. I'll leave it at 75. We get an answer. Do we want to run it again? Yes. It asks us again. I'll put in 22. All right, it gives us an answer. Do we want to run it again? I'll just put in an N for no, and we're done. The only other thing that I want to change in here to make it look a little bit nicer is let's put in Fahrenheit dot two fixed, and we'll do it to 2 degrees or to 2 decimals, and we'll do the same thing for Celsius. Dot two fixed, and that'll be to 2 decimals. All right, that'll look a lot nicer, more professional. So when we run this and we put in 0, it now says minus 17.78 degrees Celsius. All right, there is a symbol that you can put in for the Fahrenheit, the little dot for the degrees. I don't care. If you want to go search for that and put it in, you can. By no means do you have to. All right, now it appears to be looking just fine. So that one was a little smoother. We came through here. We created 2 constants, one for our minimum value, one for our maximum value. Our program variables, this was the one we were reading in. All right, after we read it in, we were doing some mathematical calculations. This is what we were producing. This allowed us to ask the user, do you want to run the program again? But no matter how easy you make it for a user, some people just aren't going to read whatever it is you ask them to do. So we only care about the first character of that. So we read in that value, uppercase it, and then just grab out the first character. If they put in a Y for that first character, we set run program again to false. Otherwise, it was set to true, and it'll stay at true. So, Grant, any questions on that example?
Nope, not on that one.
All righty. So let's look at what's left here. So we've actually done the enhancement, all right, for lack of better words. This one, again, is pretty simple. All right, we kind of looked at this before. All right, it says it should display a prompt that asks for this. It asks you to enter a grade from 0 to 100, and then it displays the letter grades based on what you've asked or what you've entered. So let me grab this. This is extra 3-2. All right. And let me open that one with code. All right. As we've been doing all along in here then, coming into here. Let me immediately change the name of this so that it's correct. Right. Close that. All right, and come in and put in both our link again, even though we're not using it. And put in our script tag. We should put defer first in there. Remember what defer does is it says, do not load that JavaScript in until all of the HTML has been loaded. All right, and then source equal JS/scripts. All right, that's that. Now there's a lot of ways we could do this. All right, I'm going to try to do it in what I consider at least to be the most straightforward way possible. All right, so I'll put a little comment in here that says, based on a number grade, show the corresponding letter grade. Via, again, we'll say 90 to 100 is an A. Let's copy this down a bunch of times. 80, 70, 60, and this will end up being less than 60, is going to be an F. So 90 to 100, it'll be an A. 80 to 89 will be a B. 70 to 79 will be a C. 60 to 69 will be a D. And below 60 will be an F. I think hopefully that's sufficient enough for comments. All right. Again, we want to do what? We want to come in here and declare and initialize our program constants. So we'll have const int min score will be equal to 0, const int max score, and that'll be equal to 100. We don't use int, just const. Thinking of my afternoon class, sorry. And now we'll want to declare and initialize our program variables. All right, so we'll we'll call this number grade, and we'll set that equal to 0 for now. And we'll also have letter grade. We'll set that equal to the empty string. All right, so what else do we need? Well, I'll tell you what I'll do is to make it a little faster, I'm going to come back over to here, and with what we just did, I'm going to steal the stuff at the bottom. All this again and whatever, I'm going to just steal every bit of that. Just so we don't have to type all that in again, that's all. So let me come down here and put that in. So that'll be again, et cetera, and we'll add that in just a moment. All right, but we better put in those variables. So let again equal the empty string. Let first char again equal the empty string, and let run program again equal true. Same exact stuff. So we've been using a very similar pattern thus far. So while run program again, we can come in there and say number grade equal, and we're going to prompt, it'll be a number. It should be a whole number. So we'll do a parse int prompt, enter test score. We'll just say enter number grade, and we'll again say 0 through 100. And again, we will give it a, try that again. A default value, doesn't matter what we put in here. Let's put in 80, that's fine. All right, and there, that should fix that. Now, I'm just going to do this again. I like to write a little bit of code and then run it. So I'm just going to say run program again equal false. Not testing anything. I just want to see if that's coming up correctly. So file, save all. All right, so run number grade. It shouldn't matter what we put in here. All right, to run program again. Yeah, don't worry about that. Okay, we're going to put that in just a second. All right, so that part's working. That's good. So now we have to do our data validation, just like we did before. So while is NaN, so while not is not a number grade. or the number grade is less than the min score, or the number grade is greater than the max score. Well, if any of these are the case, we already know this. We just want to ask the user to basically run the program again or input their value again. So I'm going to grab this, just like we had. And again, so that I can test it, I'm just going to come down here and say, run program again equal false. All right, so now I can come in here and test this. And if I put in nothing, doesn't take it. If I put in a value less than 0, it doesn't take it. If I put in a value greater than 100, it doesn't take it. But if I put in a value between 0 and 100, all right, it does take it. All right, so all of that works. That's good. So let's just do the rest of it. Now we're done with this one. All right, so after we've done all this, this is the code we want right here. So I can remove this and this, bring this up, and don't worry, I just have to add a curly brace at the bottom. That should be everything. All right, let's try. Oh, we're not printing it out yet. So let's do that. So after we printed this out, all right, after we put in a valid grade, now we've got to figure out the letter grade. All right, so this right now, we can run this. And this should make sure right now that we put in a valid grade. So I'm going to put in 55. Do it again, yes. Whoa. What happened? What's that?
You go up, you just forgot to.
Ah, okay. Right there. Thank you. There we go. So let's do a save all. Let's try it again and see if we're able to run this multiple times. Okay. All right. Now it looks like it might even be in a loop, but I'm not worried about it because we're going to get it right now. All right, we're going to finish this one up. And then we've got one more to look at, and that'll be it for the period. All righty. So while it's out of range, we do all this, and we do this. Okay. Run if it's not equal to y. Okay, we set it to false. That all should be working. Okay. So what we have to do in here, once we get down to this point right here, is we have to now figure out the letter grade. And we're doing it based on this right here. All right. So we know we've now got a valid number grade. So if the number grade is greater than or equal to 90, then we know that the letter grade is equal to A. All right. I'm going to copy down 4 or 5 times. All right. So if it's greater than or 90, it's an A. Else, if it's greater than or 80, it's a B. Else, if it's greater than or equal to 70, it's a C. Else, if it's greater than or equal to 60, it's a D. All right. Else, it's an F. Okay. And remember, as soon as it finds a match in here, so if we put 83 in, nope. Yep. It does this and it jumps out of the loop, which is what we'd want to have happen. So down here, let's just do an alert. And that alert can say number grade. I think it'll take a \n here. We're going to find out. And we'll say here, then, letter grade. Like that. All right, let's see if it works. Now let's put in valid values. So let's do a 93. All right, 93, letter grade A. Yeah, I want to do it again. 83, it's a B. Yeah, I want to do it again. 73, it's a C. Okay, 63, it's a D. 53, oh, didn't like that, so maybe something was screwed up on that, so let's look. Should have been okay, so else letter grade equal F, and it didn't like that for whatever reason. I'm going to run it again and see if we can figure out why. So 53, it did say F. All right. Do I want to do it again? No. All right. So taking a quick look at this one then. All right. Again, based on a number grade that had to fall within this range, we gave the corresponding letter grade. We had two program constants, one called min score, one called max score. And again, we had 5 program variables. All right. And with those program variables, there was the number grade we were reading in, the letter grade which we were calculating. Again, so we asked the user if they wanted to run the program again. First char, which is the first character of again, and then our Boolean flag run program again. We set it to true, so we're sure we get into the body to begin with. And then we prompt for the number grade. We do our data validation. So if we put in something non-numeric or less than 0 or greater than 100, we ask you to do it again. When you get down to here, you put in a valid grade. All right, a valid number grade. So based on that number grade, we figure out the corresponding letter grade. Okay, then here we output both the number grade and the letter grade. All right, so we've got that. Then down here, prompt user to run program again or not. All right, and that's pretty much everything. Now that should have been, again, a lot of review. Grant, any questions on that one?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, and I'll tell you what we'll do then, because it is 10:20. Let's take 10 minutes. We come back, we'll take a look at one more of these. And the last one that we'll look at will be the one with, must be the other one, must be on the extras. We'll do, this one isn't hard, the sum of the numbers. Okay, it asks you to enter a number between from 1 to 100. Okay, so if you put in 5 in here, enter any top number to sum from 1 to 100. All right, I don't think that we need to go through that. 5 will just add 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. All right, and then we've got this use the sales array. So we'll do them both. All right, so you'll have most of these done then. So after the break at 10:30, let's make it 10:35. We will do this create a sum of numbers, and then we will do the use the sales array. And that'll be it for today. We'll see if we can get this done somewhere around 11 o'clock. Okay, I'll see you at 10:35. Had enough? Well, again, thank you both for coming. I appreciate it. Any questions? You can email me. I'm jpscott@rankin.edu. It's on my card. Evan is eagudmisted@rankin.edu. And I'm sure either one of us can answer probably any questions you might have. Thanks. Thank you again for coming in.
Thank you.
You too. Thanks. All right. So I am going to grab this. And I'm going to jump off from the share for just a minute. Extra 3, 3. All right, I'm just getting everything set up for these last two here, so let's jump into them. Not sure if I went back. I was doing some stuff during the break, so let me make sure I'm still sharing. There we go. All right, so we will share right now, and then let's do 3, 3 first, and then we'll do 3, 4. Come on, there you are. All right, so here's 3, 3. I've already done and set up the HTML file, so that should be finished. So let's go in here and just do the JS. Okay. All right. So in this particular example, extra 3, 3, I've actually grabbed those comments, put them here. Gonna look a little funky for a second, but we'll fix it very quickly. All right, so this application will give you a chance to use a for loop. It asks the user to enter a number from 1 to 100 with a prompt. It says with a prompt, let's just say with a prompt. All right. Then to give the user a chance to do multiple entries. All right. I'll just change that to give the user a chance to do multiple entries. And then finally, add all the numbers from each of the user's entries. And display the sum of the numbers in a page. Again, I'm just going to use just an alert. All right, so we want our minimum number that we're going to allow is 1. So const min number equal 1, const max number equals 100. And again, to try to be complete here, declare and initialize program constants. And the only variable that I think we'll need in here, we'll need number and we'll need sum. So let's put those in. So declare and initialize program variables. And we will have in here, so I can move that over as well, but it doesn't really matter one way or the other. So we will have let number equals 0 and let sum also equals 0. All right. We also want to be able to run the program again. We were told to do that. So again, let's do a let again equal this. Let first char equal this, and let run program again equal true. Same exact stuff that I've been doing all along here. So again, while run program again, what do we want to do? Well, we want to first input a number. So number equal parse int. We are not told that it should be a decimal. So I'm going to use parse int prompt. Enter a number from 1 to 100. And we will default it. We don't have to, but we'll default it to 50. All right, one more paren there, I think. Nope, we don't need another paren. Yep, we got them all. All right, so we've now inputted our number. Now we must validate the number. So while is NaN number or number less than min number or number greater than max number. So those are our error conditions. We'll just call them that. I don't know if exactly what they are, but if that's the case, we just want to tell them to enter it again. All right, I'm confident that this works. We've tested this before. So I'm just going to come right down here and say, calculate sum of numbers from 1 to number. So if they put in a 56, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4, all the way to 56, for example. So for LCV, let LCV equal, well, we know we've already got a number here. All right. And we want to start at 1. So yeah, we'll say for LCV equal 1. We could also use here, if we wanted to, min number. Doesn't matter. So they're both 1. So for let LCV equal 1, LCV less than or equal to number plus LCV. All right. So what do we need? Well, we need a sum of those numbers that we just called sum. So we can come in here and say sum plus equal LCV. That's it. Then when we're done, we can do an alert. It says the sum of all numbers between 1 and number is sum. Okay, the sum of all numbers between 1 and number is, and that should give us the sum. All right, then we have to ask if they want to do it again. So we will again say again equal prompt, run program again. And yes or no. We will again default it to yes. And then say again equal again dot to uppercase and first char equals char at, I'm sorry, again dot char at location 0. And finally, if first char is not equal to y, we're done. And we signify we're done by saying run program again equal false. Should be everything. All right, so taking it from the top, we declare two constants, and we don't have to make these capitalized. It's just convention. All right, so min number is 1, max number is 100. This is the number we're reading in. This is the sum of all numbers between 1 and that number. This is run the program again, yes or no, y or n. But in case they put in something more than a y or an n, that's just the first character of again. This is our program continue variable. So while we want it to continue, input a number, validate that number, and calculate all of the numbers between 1 and that number, and then just alert or print it out. So let's see if this works. Gonna go back and bring up my index file. Let's start with something that's pretty simple. Oh, that isn't good. It's not printing anything. So let's see if we have an error. 2 errors. Resource not found. Well, did I type in scripts wrong? Oh, it's scripts.js. That's on me. All right, so let's try it again. File, save all, and let's run it again. That looks a little better. Let's take 10 because I'm pretty sure 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 10 is 55. Well, didn't like it. It's putting me into a loop. Let's see if we can figure out why it has put us in a loop. While it's not a number, or the number is less than our minimum, or the number is greater than the maximum. All right. It's missing this while loop. Why would it be doing that? See if we can figure it out. All right. Got that. Got all that. While is any n number or number is less than min or number is greater than max, we're just asking them to do it again. All right. Well, it looks like it should be working, but let's see if we can figure out why. How about 4? Huh. Okay. So it doesn't seem to matter what we put in here, even if we put something invalid in there. All right. So whatever I'm doing wrong must be what I was doing wrong earlier as well. So let's see if we can figure it out. Put this over multiple lines. I know it'll go back again, but I want to look at it. While is NaN number? That's correct. Well, number is not a number. Or number is less than min number, which was set to 1. Or number is greater than max number. I don't think number is a key word. Let's change it to num. I don't think that's a keyword though. Otherwise it would be giving me a different error. Num. Just make all these num, that's all. But I don't think that's what it is. Sum of the numbers between 1 and number is, and that's sum. That all looks correct to me. Asking if you want to do it again. To uppercase, charat. I don't know. Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious. What's that?
I was just wondering, do we need to run program again equals false somewhere to, since it's true as the variable?
I mean, here?
I mean, like after we enter the first number.
All right,
Like
right
if the
here.
number's valid, it should stop, right?
If the number is valid, it should be dropping down into here.
Yeah.
So if we put in a valid number, it should be skipping this because it is a number. And it is, if we put in 10, let's say, it is greater than min number and it is less than max number, or it's between there, it's within their range. So, but it's prompting us in here anyway. So let's just do this. Let's put an alert here. Say the number you entered was number. See if that even worked. That's num, not number anymore. No, that's num. In fact, let's go in and do this. Okay, that could be what the problem is. Remember, I changed all these to num. That still says number right there. That could be screwing it up. See if that does anything. The number you entered was NaN. Okay, well, that's the problem. That's why it's asking us to do it again. So it's not whatever we're putting in there, something is screwed up in that input. So let's look. It doesn't like this. So let's break it down. This parse in starts here, it ends here. All right, this prompt starts here. That's the problem. This 50 should be inside of there. I think that's the problem. All right, and since it's wrong there, of course, it's wrong here as well. All right, so let's see if that fixed it. Looks like it. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 is 21. Do it again. Yes, I'm going to put in a 10 and see if it gives me 55. It says 76. Okay, I know what that problem is. We'll fix that. And that's good. That's good. It's good when we find problems like this. One thing we want to do is at the beginning of the script, when we run it again, we didn't reset sum here. So when we start, we want to say sum equals 0. All right. And the reason we got 76 was 21, which are the numbers from 1 to 6, plus 55, which are the number from 1 to 10. They should fix that. All right, so 6 should give us 21. It does. Yes, we wanted to run it again. 10 should give us 55. It does. Let's run it again. We'll put in a big number, 89, and that's 4005. I have no reason to think that's wrong. All right. So very quickly, no, I don't want to do it again. So let's very quickly look at this, and then we'll look at the last one quickly. All right, so again, taking it from the top, I could have left it as number. It wasn't that I was using num. All right. So we had a minimum number and a maximum number. This, again, let's put in a few more comments here so you can see exactly. This is the number inputted. This is the sum of all numbers 1 through num. This is the prompt for program continue. This is the uppercase first character of again. And this is the program continue variable. So we set it equal to true. So when we go into it the first time, it is true. And we tell you to input a number. We're starting a new series, so we reset sum to 0. Then we validate the number. So if it is non-numeric, or if it's less than 1, or if it's greater than 100, we don't accept it. We ask you to do it again. So if you get down to here, you have entered a number, and that number that you entered was between 1 and 100. So let's say we put a 6 in there, like we said. That will say sum equals 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6, which is what gave us 21. We print that out, and then we ask the user if they would like to run the program again. Okay, questions?
Nope, that's good for me.
Okay, all right, then let's look at the last one. Probably the hardest one, because that last one actually has an array in it. All right. So let me do a file save all here and close this one. All right, so now the last one here, we are supposed to use an array, and it says you'll start with 5 arrays that represent sales regions. Each array has 4 values that represent the quarterly sales for the region. Then you'll summarize on a page that looks like this. So you should have, this should be your output right here. All right. Now for the first thing we're going to do here is, because we're given this information. So I'm going to go over to here, and under Murach, we can use this. Well, doesn't matter. I guess you've got these things. So it is, no, it's the extra for chapter 4. And what is it? Change make? No, it's for chapter 3. I'm sorry. And it's sales arrays. So it is this right here. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to bring that into here. And I'm going to paste it in. And after I do, I'm going to rename that. So I'm going to get rid of that scripts file that right now is empty. And since I have been calling everything in here scripts, I'm going to change this one, the name of it, to scripts. And what that has in it are our 5 arrays. So we're supposed to add them this way. So add these, and then add these, then add these, then add these, etc. All right, so we're supposed to add them by quarter. All right, so I think this is quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. All right, and it says for our output, try that again. That should be the 4 quarter 1s added together, the 4 quarter 2s added together, 4 or 5, whatever it is, the quarter 3s added together, and the quarter 4s added together. Then we do it by region. All right, so we add this one, this one, this one, and these 5, then these 5, then these 5, then these 5. Those are our quarter 1, our quarter 2, our quarter 3, and our quarter 4 numbers. Then we go this way. That's our region 1, our region 2, our region 3, our region 4, our region 5. That's going to be these numbers. Then finally we add up everything. So we add all of these, plus all of these, plus all of these, plus all of these, plus all of those. And that's going to give us our final total. All right. Hopefully I didn't say that so fast that it didn't make sense. All right. So let's go in and do that one. So let me begin bring this thing up. Think I may have already opened it here. All right. So, yep, there it is. Okay. So again, our index is set up already. I've got everything set up in here. It says extra 3, 4. So that's all done. So let's come in and do this. All right. So the first thing we want to do is we want to calculate by quarter. Okay. So again, we want to add this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. Hopefully that makes sense. That's quarter 1. That's quarter 2. That's quarter 3. That's quarter 4. So let's make a new array in here. Let's make an array. We can make it a constant. All right, because again, you can change the values that they're in there. We'll call this quarters. How about quarter values? Okay, they're totals. So let's call it quarter totals. And we'll set that equal to a new array. And we will, for now, we'll just set all of them to 0. All right, so we will come in there with 4 zeros. So that, again, that is quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. All right. All right. So that's the first thing that we want to do is we want to set that up. And eventually we're going to have another one in here, another array. So let's just create that right away. And it'll be called region. Region totals. And again, we'll make that equal to another array, but that particular array will have 5 values in it because we have 5 regions. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so let's actually figure out those values. All right. So the first thing we want to do is, calculate the quarter totals. And when we get done, we're going to display the quarter totals. Then when we get done with that, we're going to calculate and display the region totals. All right, so that's a little template of what we want to do. So what are we going to do here? Well, let's set up a for loop. So for let LCV equal 0, LCV less than quarter totals dot length plus LCV. All right, so there, now we just have to add those. All right, so quarter totals So what are we trying to add here? All right. We're trying to add region 1, 0, region 2, 0, region 3, 0, region 4, 0, region 5, 0. Hopefully what I just said makes sense. So quarter totals LCV, what does that equal? So this will be the first quarter. So again, we want to add this, plus this, plus this, plus this, plus this. All right. So what we want to add is going to be this. Region 1 I, remember I is 0 when we start, plus region 2I plus, and we need all 5 of them. So region 3I plus region 4I plus, and I'm going to move this over just a little bit, plus region 5I. All right. So again, all we're doing is that we're saying for the first quarter, add 1540 plus 2010 plus 2450 plus 1845 plus 2120. Then bump up LCVs. So now I'm in the next quarter. All right. So we've got 1130 plus 1168 plus 1847 plus 1491, etc. And we want to keep doing that. Now that we've done that, let's display them. So I'm going to put in another for loop. Why am I putting in another for loop? Because what we're told here in our specs is there's 4 things we want to display right there. All right. So let's see if we did it right. So I'm going to put in here in my curly. All right. And in here to display them, let's try a document.write and see if it works. So document.write, and we will put in here, let's put in a template literal, and we'll say Q for the quarter. All right. And then after the quarter, we'll put in $, I plus 1. So in other words, that should say Q1, then Q2, then Q3, then Q4. All right. If you don't like doing it that way, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do that with template literals. That will break unless I put this in parentheses, though. So let's do it with, and then we'll do it again without the template literals. So hopefully everybody understands what all that means. All right, so that's that. So right now, what that's going to print out from what we have here is just Q1 colon space, Q2 colon space, Q3 colon space, Q4 colon space. Well, we want more than that. All right, so what do we want next? Well, we want the amount, but we want it with a $. So we have to add the $, so put in 2 of them. The second $sign is for that template literal. And we call that quarter totals I. Like that. Let's see if it works before we do anything else. So let's just see if what we've done so far works or if I screwed up. All right, so here's our index. Let's run it. All right, it doesn't like something. I bet you it's going to give us that same stupid error that it did before. Server responded of a 404. Refused to execute. I don't know why. I've never seen that before. But it's saying crypts here, so I may have, again, forgot the .js. Boy, oh boy, Jeff. So let's run it again. Still isn't printing anything. It will, I believe, if we put this into a, oh, I is not defined. I must have used I in there. That's not I. Everywhere it's I, it should be LCV. All right, all of these must be LCV. So let's move this down. All right, so Am I missing anything now? Let's look. Okay, region. Doesn't look like it. So file, save all. Let's run this again. See if we get any output now. All right. Now I didn't put in the line breaks. That's okay. But we've got quarter one. Quarter one says 99.65, and it's supposed to. Quarter two is 74.03. Quarter three is 94.78, and quarter four is 13.061. All of our totals are correct. That's the good news. All of our totals are correct. So how do we get this on multiple lines? Pretty simple. We come in here and at the end of this, where we were printing them all out, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then displaying them here. When we get done with that, let's put in a BR tag for line break. And let's run it again. And there's our numbers. Now, if that confuses,
I've got an issue with mine.
okay,
So when I go to inspect, it says it's giving me 4 warnings all in the document.write. It looks the same. It's the same warning, just 4 times. It's saying it is impossible to write into a document from an asynchronously loaded external script unless it is explicitly opened.
well, then let's go back. And first, is this correct? Is yours right? Do you have js/scripts.js?
Mine
You
is
didn't,
sales.js.
or did you leave off the .js like I did?
No, mine has JS.
Oh, yours is. Okay. Do you have that in its own folder? And is that what you called it in that folder?
It's not. It's following what the template that the book gives you. It's in.
All right,
it's not
then in the book, didn't they call, what do they call it in there?
It's sales.js and it's in the same
All right,
folder.
so does yours say sales.js here?
Yes.
And you got it in a JS folder and it says sales.js.
Is it? Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to hit things that hopefully make at least some sense. All right. So
actually, I just got it. I deleted the defer because it said it was asynchronously and it loaded for me.
okay.
I saw yours
You're
didn't
right.
have that.
You're right. I forgot to put defer here.
Yeah.
And
that was messing mine up.
Well, and if it's messing it up, which is possible, that's why we were getting that error before. If you're getting that error, then do this. Then just remove it from here and put it in your body. Then that error will go away. You don't need the defer if you put it in the body like that. It should work fine like that.
Okay.
Did it work then?
Yes, mine's working now.
Okay, good. Okay, so we've got that done. So we're half finished. Let's do the rest. So we want to calculate our region totals and then display those. All right. Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit and I'm going to grab this and then make some changes to it. So to calculate our region totals down here, all right, this won't be quarter totals dot length. It'll be region totals dot length. And again, we have a region 1, a region 2, a region 3, etc. But as we come in and do this one, all right, we'll rewrite the whole thing. All right. I just want to do that. Okay. So we've got our quarterly totals. All righty. And what we want to do in here is, again, we've set up our region. It's got 5 zeros in it. Now you can do this. We can take this and move that down to here. We can do that. I don't like doing that. I like having all of my variables put in the same place. I think it's easier doing it that way. Not everybody agrees with that. All right. But remember, it does that hoisting. So it goes through the whole program. So even if you do put it down lower, it's not going to complain. All right. So let's come in here and write our for loop. So again, if it makes it easier for you, if it does, because I've had people tell me this before, hey, I just made mine much easier to read. Everywhere you use LCV, I put in just an I. And it reads much cleaner. It's much easier for me to figure out exactly what's going on doing it that way. And if that's the case, then please, by all means, do it that way. That's not a problem. All right. I'm just used to using LCV. Back in the day when I learned this stuff, the instructor was very, 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 very literal over the way he always wanted us to name things and make them self-descriptive. So there. Now, if that makes it easier, so let me save and run it again to make sure I didn't break anything. There they are. So that'll work also. Just, if you just make them I instead of LCV, that's all I did. So I'm going to try to grab this for loop again, and I want to make changes to it, but I want to do our region stuff now. So for let I equal 0, I less than. All right. And again, what we are trying to do right here is we want to go and add in the other direction. All right.
Just say adios.
Okay. How'd it go?
It went well.
Good.
Yeah. So
These guys stayed. They probably left about 10:30. And the guy you're going to see tomorrow, he was more interested out of the two. But I mean, the other guy was fine. And the other guy came up and thanked me and he said, thanks for being so attentive, etc. But this guy, he asked probably about 10 questions. So he may ask you tomorrow. I don't know. All right. I'm gonna this afternoon, I'm gonna be looking at starting to work on, look at the test. If it looks like, oh, that's way too general, change it any way you want. I'm gonna start based on that. I'm gonna start working on the key this afternoon.
okay.
All right. All right. I'll talk to you later. Thanks. Okay, sorry. So we're gonna calculate our region totals here. And remember, when we do the regions, all right, then what we want to do is now we don't want to add this plus this plus this plus this plus this. No, we want to add this one plus this one plus this one plus this one. So what we want to do is for each region, we want to add their quarters. All right. So let's go ahead and do that one. So these will be our region totals. Let me get rid of that search with there. That won't be as ugly then. All right. So we've got the 5, I equals 0. And guess what? We can keep the quarter totals dot length because we want to do this 4 times. We want to do, well, I mean, there's different ways we can do it, but there's 4 values in here. That one, that one, that one, and that one. That'll be region 1. That one, that one, that one, and that one. That'll be region 2, etc. All right. So come into here then. And say region totals. We start with 0. All right. And we add to this like this. All right. Not showing me any errors, so I think it's correct. All right. And I'm going to go do this. I'm going to do like that. And I think this is correct, but we have to display this. So again, let me steal this. So that's what this one says. I'll leave that one up here. All right. So again, this will go from, this is sales by region. And the other one, I should have had a heading first. So let me put in here an H1. In fact, not in there. I'll just put in this document.write, and we'll put in sales by quarter. All right. And we'll make sure that afterwards we'll put in a BR tag. All right. And then the other one, come on. This will be our one in here. All right, where we're going to display these regional totals. But before we do that, I'm going to say sales by region, like that. All right. And again, we'll have this other for loop. This will have to change. This was the word region. Again, I+1. Again, $2. This will be region totals. All right. And let's see if that works. Again, it's so simple in here to make one simple error and screw stuff up. Well, I've got sales by region. That's the good news. The bad news is I don't have anything under here. So I have my sales by quarter. I have my title for sales by region. It doesn't like something I've done in here. We'll fix it right now. So first, let me get rid of this. And I spelled region wrong. That will do it. Right there. But before we do this, let's put in a couple line breaks here. All right, so file, save all, and let's run this. All right, okay. The good news is we got output. The bad news is they're all 0. So something is screwed up. All right, but the good news is that should say region 1, 2, 3, 4, and there actually should be a region 5 in there too, and there's not. So we'll look at that. All right. So, okay, this is not quarter totals here. That is region totals. All right. And again, that is region I+1 colon $sign region total sub I BR. Now, hopefully that was the only thing wrong, but we'll find out. So in my luck, I'll now have 5 zeros. And I do. But I do have now all my regions. What does that mean? That means that the math that we're doing in here, this math is wrong. Ah, look at that. Region 1, region 2, region 3, region 4, and that should be region 0 here. 0, 1, I believe. No, it's the actual names of the regions. Those are region 1, region 2, region 3, region 4, and region 5. That one is correct. And our region totals should be 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, let's see if that fixed it. No. All right, there's still something wrong in here. We're going to keep working on this till either it's 11:55 or we're done. And we're done for the day, or we figure out what the problem is. So to calculate the region totals. All right. Oh, there it is. All right. For each one of these, it's plus equals. Right there. What do I mean? Well, think about what we're doing. All right. We're saying this one, this one, this one, this one. Now we're saying to add this one, plus this one, plus this one, plus this one. We weren't doing that before. All right, we were setting it equal to some value, which was wrong. So let's look at it now. Okay, we have values. Now let's check and see if our values are correct. We move this over. 53.55, 95.85, 93.98, 61.95, and 93.74. So the only thing that's left in here, all right, is to calculate our final totals. So
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So was it just taking what we declared as our constant where we put in the 5 zeros? Was it using that as
That's
its
what it was
number?
using. Yes.
Okay.
That is the empty array. That's what it's filling up. Is
Gotcha.
that your
Thank you.
question?
Yes, thanks.
Yes. Okay. So let's go back in and we're going to do this twice. All right. And what I'm telling you is I believe at least that when we do this, it shouldn't really matter if I add them this way or I add them this way. All right. Maybe I'm wrong. 18, 10, 18. It doesn't look like they're the same though. All right. We'll do the quarters. Okay. So we want to display the final totals. All right. It'll be in another for loop. And we'll need something called total sales. So let's go back up here and let's create, that can be a const. Total sales, we're only setting it once. We'll initialize it here to 0. And just in case, since it's a variable, we'll use let. All right, I think that we'd have to use let there. All right, so we've got let total sales equals 0. So for our final totals, we're going to say for let I equals 0, I less than our quarter totals dot length plus I, and then our total sales, which we just declared, plus equal quarter totals sub I. All right, and then we have to display them. Now that's only one value, so we can, this is calculate final totals. And this will be display final totals. All right, so we'll do a document.write. Again, let's put in a couple BR tags. And we'll say total sales. And one more document.write. And in there, we'll have one more BR tag. In fact, we won't even need the, we will just come in here and say dollars. Well, let's use template literals. Template literal $sign, then in the curly braces, total sales. All right, we can do a .2 fixed. We're not told to, but we can do that for 2 decimal places. Wouldn't hurt one way or the other. Now, what we can do in here, that we can make this an H2 tag. There's nothing wrong with doing that. All right, and actually putting a little bit of HTML kind of in here. So this can be an H2. And the only reason I'm telling you that is up above where I did all that stuff in here. All right, right here, we could make that an H2 as well. We don't have to. And it'll have to be an ending H2. And that one I may have to make an ending H2. And then we can do it up above here too. It might look a little nicer doing that way. I don't know. We'll find out right now. There we go. Our total sales, 39,907. Is that what we were given here? 39,907. We could do a 2 fixed on all of these if you want to. All right. Questions?
No, I think that got cleared up at the end for me.
Good. All right. So sorry it took a little longer. Thanks for bearing with me, especially with the various visitors that we have. Right at the end, that was Mr. Gudmested who came in. They are interviewing for a new instructor for the hardware program because one of the hardware instructors evidently was offered a job for much more money out in the regular field. So he is leaving almost immediately. So he came in here just to say hello. So that's all I've got on. I did send out this test. And what I am going to attempt to do this weekend, all right? I'm saying it again. This is what I'm going to attempt to do this weekend. All right, let me open that up. This is the pretest, not there. Come on, show me the pretest, would you please? Get rid of that as well. All right, come on. All right. Somewhere in my mess here, there's the pretest. All right. You're doing the BMI thing and you're doing a guessing game. Read these. I will go over them on Monday in detail. All right. Now, I'm going to do both of these, each of these this weekend. I'm going to try to do them. This one, especially, I'll try to do twice. Once without a raise and once with a raise, so we can save all that stuff. All right, this one isn't as good or as easy to do with a raise, but we will do both of them on Monday. So when you come in on Monday, I'm going to quickly explain both of these, show you a working copy quickly of both, give you from 8 until 9:30 to work on them, and then from 9:30 till 11:30, I will create both of them. With that, thanks for sticking around again. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, you too.